Hey everyone, this is Kyle, and I'm actually alone and separate on this time. So I'm here talking about my episode of J.F.K. This episode is a really personal episode. It actually mirrors certain things that happened in the past few months for me. And I really had a hard time dealing with certain personal issues. One was a depressing state that I actually lasted for quite some time. It was really hard to deal with the fact that season 3 was canceled, and well, you could tell slightly that in this episode I sort of used a breakup story to go through it. This one scene here, for week 1, I really wanted something that people would get up in the morning and just have that 1 ounce of happiness when you get that text or even a phone call from someone that you really care about, and then when you find out there's something wrong, it's gone. This scene here with Will and Vera, this was thought up for another idea that we had, and
you two are gonna last.
And what happened was, I thought about my character just going through his little depressive state, and then he sees this couple walk by, and then he bumps shoulders with the guy, and the girl turns out to be his ex-girlfriend. So he beats up the guy, and then he sees all these other couples with his girlfriend, so he starts beating up all these guys, but we ended up with that being too cheesy. There was a lot of ideas about going into this episode. There was at least 2 other concepts before I actually settled on one. This scene, I actually wrote this scene first, along with episode 1. This is like purely the one episode that got me back into what I wanted to do, because deep down I really wanted to give up. I really wanted to give up filming. I wanted to give up my passion, and I really felt like I did not know what I wanted to do anymore. This episode was just hard. It was actually the first episode that I wrote deep down what I felt and what I wanted to get out. And I knew I couldn't direct it. I really could not handle directing it, could not act in it, and could not stay the same way I could have. And what I wanted to do with this episode was actually show what someone that has depression, I want to show the audience what rawness some people go through. And I didn't want to mask it with certain mainstream films with just alcohol abuse or drug abuse or even promiscuity. So even though we showed like beer bottles here, it does make sense in the story now. If with the past episodes with Jamie and Frizz, that they want other drinks, and I drank one, and there it is. Like, oh, I crashed, but somehow I survived. This scene alone, there was, even though we had like 2 cameras, we stuck to 1 camera with Dennis's camera, and the lighting. Honestly, the lighting, I still can't believe what we done with all this lighting, with 2 redhead kits and everything that we made. It was interesting. And I thank Thayer and Garrett for being the lighting and grips to just putting all this together and making the look really natural, but also just out there for this whole episode. The fight scene. The fight scene actually took 2 months to prepare, because I actually wrote this while working. I actually wrote the fight scene before I actually wrote the episode. I wrote the whole fight scene just thinking about, okay, this is how I want it to be. and I knew that Dustin and I had to fight, and this was our revamp of doing our very first fight from the very first season. And deep down, I thought in my head, okay, can Dustin do this? Can I do this? And we both tried it out for the first time, and we said, yeah, we could do this. Now we know what to fine-tune. And then when we did the pre-visualization for it, where we shoot the whole fight scene before and then actually shoot the actual fight scene according to that previs, it was definitely something we couldn't believe that we got done. And before we actually went to camera for these 3 nights, Clark and I knew what the fight scene had to be. And we had the most time that, compared to every other fight scene that we had the most time to actually review to make sure that this fight scene, the feeling was right. But before we actually went to camera, I actually reached out with my Vendetta film, and that went to a certain assistant director that I've been friends with since 2011, and he actually directed 2 full-length films that a renowned martial artist actor is in. And when I heard all these details, it was awesome. Oh, here's that car scene, and actually our action director actually made that happen, making sure the shot looked right, and he practically took over the main hard parts, because Clark, as great as he took over some of the action scenes for me, we wanted to make sure that the guest action director took over some of the harder parts. So the car scene, that was actually a car that my film location boss actually drove, and we actually had to do that 4 times. And I'm so happy that it turned out the way it is. There was a lot of connections that happened on this fight, like Hugh hits to the face. One elbow to the face. Actually, I actually caught Dustin's elbow to my nose, and yeah, it wasn't so much. Here's the thing: the 2 of us are really good friends, and honestly, I don't get mad whenever someone hits me in the face. Neither does Dustin. And whenever I tell my team or whoever I'm fighting against that I'm not going to get angry if you don't hit. The only thing I'm going to get angry about is you're not giving me 100%. So I really try to actually fully commit, along with Dustin and any other person that I'm fighting. And honestly, when I wrote this fight scene, I thought about it long and hard, and I actually thought about walking away from filming, period. And to have this as my last fight scene, it really did feel like, yeah, if I'm gonna go out, this is gonna be my last fight scene, and yeah, we're gonna do it in the street. Here we are, in the fucking street, going through a whole fight scene for 3 nights, with a dry day yesterday, first day, snow the next day, and then rain the last day. You know what? I don't care. This is the fight scene that is gonna make it last. And I thank my crew for standing out with me to do it.
Whatever, man.
So this last scene's with Jamie and Frizz, and when keeping the whole depression angle away from them, it's really hard to keep that idea but be subtle about it. Clark actually came up with certain hints, especially we had an idea for a mirror, and there was really we couldn't find a place to put a mirror, but other than that, we're happy how it looked, and I'm actually happy that Clark stepped up as a director and put it the way that we wanted to put, and I'm thankful for him. And all I could say is, yeah, that was one hell of an episode, and there was more stuff, but you'll guys hear about more of that stuff, like either on Facebook or shit like that. But yeah, So odds are you'll hear Jamie and Frizz's commentary on this, and we'll see you guys on episode 5.